Hi there. This is Rebecca Riceware, Becky Riceware, showing that yes, you can actually do freehand embroidery on a vintage Kenmore 1803 sewing machine. Lower your feed, dogs. I found that the zigzag, for me, for the type of embroidery I wanted to do, I prefer the zigzag stitch with a stitch width just barely above 1. Stitch length doesn't matter because you've got your feed dogs lowered. For using this type of thread rolls, you need to use a horizontal thread holder for best feed. These particular thread holders are Kathy Reddy's Live Guides ones that I just happened to get in a batch of sewing equipment from somebody who'd retired from sewing. I am using metallic thread, which is one of the most difficult to use. I'm using Madeira size 12 needle for the green metallic thread. Early, I did the blue stitching with 2 rolls of blue metallic thread, but that was straight stitch. And I couldn't get any pretty designs because I didn't realize I was running into the hinge on the tabletop. So if you have a hinge right there, you have to learn either to work around it or make some sort of a ramp there so that your hoop can move without getting stuck on it. Otherwise, you'll end up with really ugly messes like these instead of some pretty curvy designs. But anyway, for doing the straight stitch, I like better having 2 threads for the metallic thread. And for the green, I actually prefer the zigzag stitch, like I said, with a stitch width around 1. You can go forward and backward to build up the thread to make it as pretty and thick as you want it to be. This is a single roll of green metallic thread. When I discovered that when using the zigzag stitch, my stitches are prettiest with no tension for a zigzag stitch. When I am using straight stitch, however, a stitch setting or tension of 3 for your upper tension on your sewing machine worked better for the 2 metallic threads, and I actually put both metallic threads through the same slot on the tension unit. And that the stitches were fine. What was not fine was me running into the hinge and wondering why it would suddenly stop moving, and that was my fault. But anyway, so you can do it. I do not have a stabilizer or interfacing because I'm using chintz, which has a really starchy finish, so it's kind of crackly almost. It's quite a stiff fabric, and I have it really tightly hooped, and that's what works really well for the embroidery. But so going forward and back while doing the zigzag stitch, I don't know if I can do it one-handed here, but I'll try to show you basically. See, if you just trying to do it one-handed makes it much harder. But using metallic thread makes it the hardest. But anyway, so metallic needle for using metallic thread. Hoop, make sure you hoop it, do it nice and tight. You may need stabilizer. I was going to use a wash away stabilizer, but it worked just fine. But it's tightly hooped and it's starched enough. Yes, you can do it on your vintage machines. And this is the monogrammer foot for the Kenmore 1803. 1802, most of the super high shank machines use this same style of monogrammer foot. Maybe the 1802 actually uses that big white sliding one, come to think of it. But anyway, so if you have this foot, it looks like a button sewing foot and probably works well for sewing buttons on, I'm sure, as well. But it works pretty decent for helping with the freehand embroidery. I do not know how well it will work with quilting, however, because this does hold the presser foot and the fabric pretty firm. And honestly, I did lower my presser foot pressure a tiny bit too before I started. I don't know how well it would work without a presser foot. I know that that does work sometimes with some thread and some machines, but you may find certain special threads will be harder to sew with unless you do use a presser foot of some sort.